What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday and welcome in to another edition of the MLB DFS game day live stream here on fantasyalarm.com. I am James Grande, your host, joined by Henry Wilson. You can follow him on X at Henry13Wilson13. Henry, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing great. Yeah, already been a good day of baseball. I don't know if you got to catch any of Paul Skeens dominating, but 7 no-hit innings with 11 strikeouts. He's just absurd. So, yeah, already off to a good start. And, excited to look at today's slate.
Yeah, it was a good afternoon slate for me. I stacked Reds and Tigers today, and also played Paul Skeens and Hunter Green. So I had a very good morning slate or afternoon slate. And this is fixing to be a good afternoon slate. Thank you for everyone for tuning in here. This slate kicks off in 1 hour and 2 minutes, 6:05 p.m. So no time to waste on the slate. Marcus. So did I, brother. Stevenson did very good. He did very good. Travis, what's going on? Let's go. He agrees. Let's go. He needs, either he's a fan of Tom Brady or he's telling us to hurry up because the slate locks in an hour. Poe Degen, our favorite YouTube commenter, salute to you. Smash the like button, you filthy animals. I agree. Justin, I see through you, scored 184. I think that's about what I scored too. I think that's about the score I put up as well. Maybe somewhere around there. Good day in the early slate. Let's have a good 7-game main slate here. What are your initial thoughts? You and I did the preview show, and the only thing that has necessarily changed is that the Dodgers are going with an opener. Landon Knack is still the long man today, but they are using an opener in Anthony Banda. What is your first impression about the slate overall?
Yeah, it's an interesting slate. I think, there's not a lot of great pitching to go after, but there's still some super intriguing plays. The change to the opener for the Dodgers didn't really change anything for me. If you watch the preview show, we were very much against Landon Knack and in on the Phillies. So it wasn't playing Knack, so the opener doesn't change anything there, and them throwing an opener in doesn't shy me away from wanting to go out for the Phillies today either. It really just doesn't change anything there. So it's an interesting one. I think we've got some quality pitchers to go after though, and some good matchups. So it should be fun.
Yeah, let's get into it. 7 games tonight. Again, this slate kicking off at 6:05 Eastern Standard. So as soon as we hop off, the slate will basically be starting. You mentioned pitching, so that's where we're going to start. If you guys are first-time watchers or listeners, whatever you prefer, we do go position by position. So that, and then we will build a lineup at the end of the show. Marcus, Henry, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I know that my sound's working only because Travis directly answered my question, right? So, yeah. And now Suave's talking about the Phillies. We're good. I'm assuming Marcus I'll type when next time we start talking. Let's get into pitching. 2 guys over 9K today, a very interesting 8K tier. Why don't you just break down your favorite options from both those tiers? Because I think you and I on the previous show, we both like Tanner Houck. I don't necessarily think that's going to change. But you and I have somewhat of a different opinion on the guy below Tanner Houck, and then the 8K tier is a wild west. What do we got here, 8K and above, Henry?
Yeah, at first glance, I think I even preferred Luis Castillo to Tanner Houck, but I've kind of changed my mind on that because Tanner Houck, I think he's had such a rough stretch of teams that he's had to face. His last 5 has been Philly, Toronto, San Diego, New York. And really only the San Diego one was super bad. Obviously, the 3 1/3 against New York is not great either. But he just had
rain delay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a rain delay. So that one's not even his fault. Really, yeah. It's really the San Diego start. Other than that, he's some tough opponents here that he pitched well against. So, yeah, against Oakland, who the Red Sox have been just striking out everyone in Oakland right now. I'm totally in on Tanner Houck. Like you said, you're a little opposed to Luis Castillo. I know, we talked about the road numbers have been really bad for him. I trust the talent, though. I think he's been, looking pretty good recently. He's coming off a solid outing. And Angels are just not very good, especially against righties. They struggle. So I'm trusting the talent, thinking he's going to break through the road slump. And I really would take either of these two. Tanner Houck has become the favorite for me, but I do like Luis Castillo as well.
It's not that I am like not trusting the data when I look at what the Angels do against right-handed pitching, because like I understand they're bad. Like I really do. They are a bad team against right-handed pitching. They're a very good hitting team against left-handed pitching. But like he just hasn't given us a reason over the last handful of road starts. I mean, the Yankees start was okay. He only allowed 2 earned runs, and that was in May. But every road start since then, lit up against Tampa Bay, lit up against Cleveland, lit up in Kansas City. And obviously for a full season's worth of data, lower strikeout rate, higher elevated home run rate, elevated walk rate. Things have just not worked out for Luis Castillo on the road. He is a very talented pitcher. I completely agree. And he was a very talented pitcher for years in a very difficult ballpark to pitch in, right? Like that in Great American when he was on the Reds, that was an incredibly hard place to pitch, and he was very good. So maybe it's just a mental thing at this point. Maybe it's just unlucky situations. I'm still going to spend the $300 more to get to Houck. What about like if you could pick one pitcher in the 8K tier, because I think there's a case for, I mean, 3 of these guys should be 9K and above, but like they're facing elite offenses in all 3 instances, and in Fried, Nola, and Steele. Who is like your preference of the bunch? And I'll throw Nestor in there, but I know you and I were a little interested on the Tampa Bay side last night.
Yeah, I'm definitely fading Nestor Cortez here a little bit. The other 3, I think all have arguments that you could kind of lean me into liking any of them. If I have to pick one, I kind of like Justin Steele here, as he's the cheapest option, and it's against Baltimore, who I know is a crazy good offense. They're really good against lefties, but they just got shut down by Shota Imanaga, a lefty. He went 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, didn't give up a run. And Justin Steele has been pitching really well. He obviously had a slow start just because of injury, but we're talking about a guy who was one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. He's got the strikeout stuff. I think he's been pitching really well. Look, the matchup is tough. It's a risk, but any of these guys you're going with is a risk because the Diamondbacks are good against lefties too. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. So any of these guys you're taking, you're going to have a lot of risk. And I think just Steele comes with plenty of upside. And I think that he could potentially shut down the Orioles here.
Sorry, my internet just not wanting me to click Justin Steele. Maybe that's an indicator. Maybe they just don't want us to
go Justin Steele.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that you can say about Baltimore against lefties is that they do strike out. Over a 23% strikeout rate against lefties this year. So if Steele is on the A game, he'll be hard to hit. Obviously, Fried, Nola, Cortez. I think this whole tier is relatively tournament priorities anyway. I wouldn't really play any of them in cash, but I think all of them are tournament plays. What about below 8K? Is there anything that stands out to you? Obviously, Shane Baz is probably the highest profile name under 8K, and I'm assuming just simply based on profile alone, he would get the most attention. But is there anyone else under $8,000 that you would be interested in?
Yeah, Shane Baz is definitely my favorite. Obviously, he comes with a lot of risk too because he's facing the Yankees, but he's just definitely the best pitcher that you can find under 8K. Someone who has strikeout stuff, who we've seen be a really good pitcher. So yeah, Yankees are tough, but if he's pitching well, he can go out and pile up some strikeouts still and have a good outing. But other than him, under the 8K, there aren't a lot of guys that I really love other than potentially taking a shot on the $4,000 Jack Kahanowitz. He's making his debut here, jumping up from AA. So you never know. It's definitely a risk, but Seattle Mariners strike out a ton, and he's been pitching really well recently. You can see that analysis in there that he's thrown 2 complete games in his last 3 starts. So like he's gonna have the innings. Hopefully he can go out there and like throw a full game and get like 5 or 6 innings and pile up some strikeouts against the Mariners, and he's 4K.
Yeah, I think that is the most important piece to this equation. That he's $4,000, and like if he scrapes and claws his way to 10 fantasy points at 4K, like you're feeling pretty good about it because that let you get to the elite bats that are on the slate. I want to throw one at you, and I've been doing this to John a lot lately, and it's been mainly because since Ronald Acuna has gone down, the Braves do not hit right-handed pitching at all. They don't. And John says this to me every time. He's like, but they're still the Braves. But the data still doesn't support like it's the Braves. They've historically been good, but historically speaking is one thing versus like the now, right? Since June 1st, which is like a few days after Acuna went down, he went down like May 27th or May 28th, one of those 2 days. Atlanta OPS 665 as a team against right-handed pitching. That's 25th. The ISO is the one thing that we'd be a little concerned about, but they're still below league average, 16th. They're 26th in WOBA, and they're 25th in isolated power. And over that span, they have the 5th highest strikeout rate at 25%. If you're trying to be different, you're trying to look for someone who's going to fight for your money, is it Brandon Pfaadt?
Yeah, I could see it. The thing with Brandon Pfaadt is he gets crushed by lefties, but he's really good at getting right-handers out. And yeah, the Braves don't have a lot of lefties. Like, sure, they have some good lefties bats, which, like, again, if I'm not pitching Pfaadt, I'm willing to go after those lefty bats against him, like Jared Kelenic, Matt Olson. We'll get into it, but they don't run deep with lefties. So there's definitely a chance if he can handle getting through like Matt Olson and Ozzie Albies. Yeah, he could absolutely shut down this Braves team and get plenty of strikeouts. So I can absolutely see it. He's not one of my favorites, but I think there is some value to thinking about it.
Anything else at pitcher that you want to note, or on to the positions we go?
No, I think that covers it for me for pitching.
Heading over to catcher, where Tyler Stevenson unfortunately isn't available. We do have some obviously elite spend-ups in Will Smith. Adley Rutschman gets a lefty. We know Rutschman has been dominant against lefties this year. Cal Raleigh, had a double dong the other day. Now gets a guy making his debut, not only major league debut, the first time he's pitched above Double-A in his career. Yonder Diaz hitting third tonight because Jordan Alvarez not in the lineup for Houston after stealing a base. What a surprise! Jordan Alvarez breaking down after stealing a base. Anything like 4K and above catcher eye at catcher, or is this a position that you're just looking to punt?
Yeah, I do like Yonder Diaz. Obviously, batting third is great for catcher, only 4,400. Like, obviously, you're paying quite a bit for a catcher, but it's not crazy. And like the power hasn't really been there. But over his last 15 games, he has 7 games where he has gotten 3 hits. Like that's
a lot. That's a lot of games. That's a lot of 3-hit games.
Yeah, so like he's hitting well, and yeah, batting third in this matchup that I like for the Astros. If I'm paying up, it's probably going to be Yonder Diaz.
Yeah, Munoz has obviously been worse against left-handed, like horrific against left-handed bats, and like every time I look at them, I'm actually shocked that they haven't gotten better. But he still has allowed a bunch of home runs and walks a lot of batters against righties, so. I agree. I think Diaz would be the guy for me. I could definitely see myself getting to Cal Raleigh if you're not playing the Angels starter there. Obviously, Logan O'Hoppe has been incredible of late, too. A lot of power there. Connor Wong hitting in the middle of that lineup against Luis Medina. So I think there are a bunch of options above 4K. When we drop below 4K, you and I built with Garrett Stubbs more as like we could just simply punt the position. We like Philadelphia. We don't like Landon Knack. He'll never face Banda here. Like that will never. The lefty will never cross paths. Banda will be out of the game. Is there anyone else that you'd punt with? Like, I mean, or just interested in the position in general?
Yeah, I still like Stubbs. I think you could also take a punt with. We know that Salazar's getting the start, batting 9th, because since Diaz is DHing. So I think that's kind of intriguing too. You already talked about Munez getting crushed by lefties, so I think he is a kind of interesting punt option as well. But that's really the main guys I'm focusing on there. If I'm not getting Yanner Diaz, I'm probably just going to go to like Stubbs or Salazar here.
Yeah, I think Salazar ends up being the guy for me, just given he's been good in his limited sample. I think there's more of a case for him to maybe stick the whole game with Jordan not playing. Because this feels like a game that Jordan just gets completely off, not used for a pinch hit. We'll see if he's like used in a pinch hit situation. Obviously, Salazar is at risk, but hey, $2,700 catcher, you get a double score run, you're cooking with gas there, 7 fantasy points. So let's move over to first base. Obviously, more intriguing position. Good to see Bryce Harper back in the lineup. You and I used a lot of Phillies on the pre-show. Are you at all worried about Harper? I mean, obviously the hand issue, right? He comes back, he returns from his IL stint, then has a hand thing. There was a bruise. The X-ray is negative. Are we worried at all, or are you all systems go on Harper, included everything else Phillies related today?
Yeah, I'm all systems go with him. They were pretty clear with his last injury that like they were not going to rush him back. He was going to come back when he was ready to play. And so now, he can sit down for a day. They're not going to run him out there if he was not healthy and feeling good. We're so close to the All-Star break too. Like they could just give him a couple days off and give him the extended break if he really wasn't feeling well. So the fact that he's in there and he's hitting, I think he's ready to go. All systems go. I'm in on the Phillies still, and I will absolutely pay $5,700 for Bryce Harper.
What about the rest of like from 4K and above? Like what is really sticking out to you in terms of first base? Yandy Diaz up.
Yeah, Yandy Diaz is intriguing there. I don't know if I think I like a couple guys better though. I think I'd rather go with his teammate Isaac Paredes for a couple hundred more, who crushes lefties. And so I like some of these lefty crusher Rays bats today. So I like Isaac Paredes and also Matt Olson there too for 5,000. We talked about Fott is not good against lefties. So obviously if you're not going for Fott, Matt Olson is probably the best Braves bat to pick up there. Having the power against Fott could be pretty good.
What about when we dip below $4,000? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I like Michael Busch. He's been just crushing the ball. He's on a nice hot streak right now. I really don't trust Albert Suarez. I think that he's going to run into some struggles, and so kind of don't mind taking some Cubs here against him. So for 3,900, Michael Busch hitting the ball well, I think he's a good option. And I also still think, we talk about Ben Rice of the fact that he's not batting leadoff anymore, but he's dropped into that cleanup spot again. And so great, he's hitting after Judge and Soto instead of before Judge and Soto. So instead of scoring a bunch of runs, maybe I'll have a chance to drive a bunch of runs in. Like either way, talking about a guy who's hitting the ball well and is in a good position in this strong lineup. So it's intriguing.
The only thing unfortunate about hitting behind Judge and Soto is that usually there's no one on base after Aaron Judge is finished with his at-bat. So, like, if you're Ben Rice, usually, like, you have a good chance of being on base when Judge hits the home run. And in this instance, it's like, well, I don't get that opportunity anymore. I'm hitting behind Aaron Judge. So,
totally. And hitting in front, too, you get you can't get walked. Like, you have to get two because you have Soto and Judge coming up. You don't want that base runner. Batting fourth, like, okay, we walk you and we get, the bottom of the lineup. That's okay. So, definitely not as ideal of a spot, but I'll still okay with paying $3,800 for him batting cleanup.
Yeah, Michael Busch hitting second tonight, by the way. Just Cubs lineup came out a little while ago, and he is in the 2-hole for the Cubs this evening, which they also just placed Cody Bellinger on the IL not too long ago as well. So no Bellinger for protection there. Going down the list, I think it's hard to ignore John Singleton at $3,200 when he's hitting cleanup. Yeah, and we've already talked about the Roddery Munoz struggles against lefties. In 19 and 2/3 innings, he's allowed 10 home runs in 19 and 2/3 innings against left-handed bats. 309 average, 741 slug, 471 WOBA. xFIP of 528. He has an 11% walk rate against lefty. 4.58 home runs per 9 innings against left-handed pitching or left-handed bats. I wish Jordan Alvarez was in the lineup tonight, just because that would be your number one bet home run, I bet, of the day if Jordan was playing. But I think for 3,200, John Singleton's not a bad consolation.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you see him batting over 300 of his last 10 games. He's got hits in 8 of his last 10, including 2 homers. So he's shown some power. So the fact that he's batting cleanup here in this good matchup, I think absolutely. Even if you're not stacking Astros, you got to be thinking about him. But if you are stacking a couple Astros, like John Singleton, better be included.
Anything else at first? You ready to go to second?
No, I think that covers it for first base. No one really intriguing me after John Singleton.
Damn, the disrespect to Dom Smith. Huh? I see through you. Boston bats. I know you're talking about Dom Smith. I know that's your number one Boston play of the day.
No, I will take Boston bats, especially those lefty bats against Medina.
Yeah.
But Dom Smith is not one of them. I don't.
This is not one of them? Oh, okay. I thought I could have sworn I had the inkling he was your favorite player last night, but I guess I was wrong. Let's head over to second. Jose Altuve, I think, is both of our number one options here. I think Altuve is like as close to peak form as he's been in a few years. When you factor in that he's running too, so you're back to that like dual threat second baseman Altuve. I don't feel like you can get to Ketel Marte against lefty. He's obviously been great against left-handed pitching, and you could play Ozzie Albies because Brandon Pfaadt stinks against lefties. But Altuve's the top dog here at over 5K, right?
Yeah, I think he absolutely is. Again, we've already given some of our Astro love, and yeah, Altuve's just been awesome. I think this is the best matchup of any of these guys up here. So really, when we're talking about Altuve, Albies, and Marte as all being guys I see fairly close together in talent, I want the guy who I like the matchup a little better, and he's kind of been hitting the ball better than the other two recently too. So yeah, I like Altuve. Yeah, nothing against the other two. I could see going for him, but if I have to pick one, I'm taking Jose Altuve.
What about below the 5K tier? We have Jordan Westburg hitting 5th against Justin Steele. Bryson Stott, you and I were kind of talking about. He hit 4th yesterday. Sans Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper back in lineup, still hitting 5th. Really good lineup spot for Bryson Stott. David Hamilton resuming his position in the 2-hole. Brandon Lau hitting 3rd, 4,200 lefty spot. What do we like in the 4K tier, Henry?
Yeah, I do really like Bryson Stott. I'm glad that he's still batting 5th. That was my only worry, was if they were going to drop him back down to like 8th or something. But with him still batting 5th, obviously, yeah, the lefty probably doesn't matter. He most likely doesn't even have to face the lefty. If he does, it's once. But most likely he doesn't even have to face him once. And if he does, it's because like there's guys on base or something. So if he gets to, like, that's honestly a good thing. So yeah, absolutely good with taking Bryson Stott here. I think there's a good spot and a good price for him.
What do we like sub 4K? I think Caballero stands out, just given how good he's been against left-handed pitching. He is a interesting blend of like a little power and a lot of speed. Do you like Caballero at all in his home ballpark against Nestor Cortez, who can't pitch on the road? And if it's not Caballero, who's your other punt option or option?
Yeah, it's absolutely Caballero. I already said, I like some of these Rays bats against lefty and Cortez. They have a couple of these infielders who just hit lefties super well. So yeah, for 3,700, especially at a position that I think is not very deep. Like, I don't love a lot of the options after those top 3 guys. He's definitely the staple for me. I could see also taking a shot on like a Nico Horner against Suarez. Already talked about kind of liking the Cubs. But again, when I can save $300 and get Caballero against Cortez, I think I like that a little bit better.
Yeah, Horner leading off tonight. The Caballero stuff is interesting. Against left-handed pitching, a lot of good, a lot of bad. 800 OPS, good. 196 ISO, good. 350 WOBA, good. 39% strikeout rate, bad. That is a healthy strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. So a lot of good, a lot of bad with Caballero. I think I'm with you. I think he is interesting. I wouldn't mind like punting Jorge Polanco. He's kind of been good in back-to-back games. Yep. $3,300.
He's got to be better than he's been, right? Like,
he's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be. But there's nothing else. Let's go over to third, where it's a strong top tier. Rafael Devers obviously gets Luis Medina. I'm pretty sure Don is, if Don, you're watching, I'm sorry. We gave the rant about Devers last night, and he went over 4.
Over 4.
It's just, that's baseball. I would go right back to the well tonight, though, with Rafael Devers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the point we were making stands true. We said don't go away from a guy just because he had a hot night. He doesn't mean he's going to slow down. Same goes for he went over 4. That doesn't bother me. I don't think he's like in a cold slump, and I'm going to turn away. This is a great matchup. If you can pay the 6,200, pay the 6,200. He is the best third base option if you can afford him.
Yep. Oh, and right on cue, Don is back. So salute to you, Don. Sorry for the offer. If you did play Rafael Devers, that's on us. But we're going right back to the well tonight. What else do you like up here at the top above 4K? I mean, Alec Boehm, Austin Riley, Paredes we talked about, Bregman. I mean, there's a lot of interest here above 4K at third.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's really a poor option here. You could really go for any of these guys. Obviously, I really like the Phillies. So if I'm not going to Devers, my next option is to just go down to Boehm, just because I would really like stacking the Phillies today. But also, we already talked about Paredes, and especially, I think first base also has some good options. So say you're playing Bryce Harper at first, so you can't play Paredes at first, throw him here at third, and so you can still do a little bit of that, raise stack against Cortez as well. I think is an awesome option.
I'm going to salute Bregman. I mean, he hits a lot in a lot of games. Yeah, batting second, 4 multi-hit games over his last 6. And, with how Altuve's been hitting in front of him, I mean, there's been a lot of opportunities for runs to be driven in. And we've seen that from Bregman lately. I really like the top half. I really just like Houston tonight in general.
Yeah,
so I would throw him into the mix there. What else do we like here at third? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just we're both going to just agree on Ahmed Rosario and then move on, because I don't think there's anything else we need to get to. Ahmed Rosario, another solid batter against lefties, 759 OPS, 328 WOBA against them this year. What's the batting average at? 313 average against lefties.
Yeah, this dude hits lefties well. That's kind of what he's always done. He's always been kind of a bat first shortstop, and so against lefties, yeah, he's the clear option here. Like we said, really deep at the top, I like all the guys down to Bregman. Right after Bregman, there's like nobody I like. Like it's ugly, and I don't like any of the options except for Rosario. So if I'm paying underneath the 4,200 for 4,300 for Bregman, I'm just going all the way down to Ahmed Rosario, and I'm plugging him in here.
All right, I gotta ask, because Travis comments. And he says, the Tampa Bay numbers versus Cortez. I am anti-BVP in every form. I am anti-BVP. What are your thoughts on the numbers against Cortez? Are you weighing those into your analysis at all, or are you just playing Tampa Bay because they've been good against lefties and because Nestor can't pitch on the road?
No, I'm purely in because we have some bats here that are really good against lefties,
right.
And we have Cortez who we've talked about struggle on the road. It can struggle getting out these right-handed bats. Like that's why. And obviously, sure, it's worked in the past, so the Tampa Bay numbers are good against him. But I hate batter versus pitcher stats. The sample has to be so big for them to have any meaning to them that I hardly consider them at all. Like it's got to be a ginormous sample or like really, really outlier for me to give it any merit. So that's not influencing my decision there, but still agreed. I'm in on those Tampa Bay bats.
Right. My dog. I always have to hear this BVP. And I know Howard, shout out to Howard and John. They're always making fun of me for it because I am like, you will not catch me touting BVP ever. Because you see, the Twitter analysts talking about 3 for 4 with 2 doubles off someone. You're like, all right, good for that guy. Anyways, let's not in the rabbit hole we're going down today with the slate locking in 44 minutes. 35 minutes. We're locking 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Slate locks. We appreciate everyone in the chat rocking with us. And if you are rocking with us and you want to continue to rock with us, well, then go get your Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Football Draft Guide today. Head over to fantasyalarm.com/guide or scan the QR code on the screen right down there. Pointing is hard. Ranking sleepers. You see it on the screen. Bust, rookies. We have a draft grid. everything you could hope for with your to help your fantasy football draft. So continue to rock with us there throughout fantasy football season as well. Let's continue on to shortstop. And Travis, we weren't trying to like downplay your comment. We appreciate your comment. Just BVP makes my skin crawl. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. I can't help it. Let's over to shortstop. Gunnar Henderson, you can play him against anybody. Trey Turner, you can play him against anybody. Do you have a preference? I mean, I know what preference you have, but do you have a preference between the two?
Yeah, it's Trey Turner. I mean, and not just because I like the Phillies today, and I'm definitely like want to stack Phillies. Like Trey Turner has been absurd. He has 17 hits over his last 9 games and 5 homers. Like that's unreal. This dude's just crazy right now. So yeah, in a pretty good matchup here, in a stack that we like Trey Turner. If there's anyone that I'm paying $6K or above for today, it's Trey Turner. Like he's just that dude right now.
Landon Knack is generating 29.9% ground balls, 47.4% fly balls, and 23% line drives. It is just all hard hit line drives or fly balls.
Yeah,
that is just not going to play at the major league level, and it's not going to play against the Philadelphia Phillies. I'll tell you.
No.
I agree on the Trey Turner front for sure. Moving down the list, Jeremy Pena. This is the wrong split for him. He's been great against lefties, not so great against righties, but obviously we like Houston. We talked about Hamilton. What about Ceddanne Rafaela? I think we might be a little split here. I agree with the point that you made yesterday and today, right? He's hitting 9th. So like obviously his opportunities, he needs to take advantage of his opportunities. But Boston has once again the highest implied run total. They're in Fenway with wind blowing out. Who's to say he doesn't get another 4 to 5 at bats tonight? And if that's the case, like he has had, I mean, dude, 7 double-digit fantasy point games over his last 8. He is just a dude that fills it up in bunches. What do you make of Rafaela here against Medina?
Yeah, at surface value, I look at both like Rafaela and David Hamilton. And it's like, man, they're priced way too high for the quality of hitters they are. But like, right. You're kind of right. I don't know if we've talked about the Red Sox enough on this slate of the fact that, yeah, they're facing Luis Medina in Fenway with the wind blowing out. Should probably be thinking more about trying to do a 4 or 5 man stack of Red Sox batters because they could score 1 million runs. So yeah, I think it is warranted to think about him because he's hitting the ball well, and yeah, even batting 9th, 4,200 is a lot to pay for a 9th in the lineup batter. But yeah, he's hitting well, and this is a great matchup here. They could score a bunch of runs, so I think it's warranted.
I think there's a lot of interesting things going on too. Luis Medina has largely been a ground ball pitcher throughout his career. That has not been the case this year. 44% fly ball rate this year compared to 37 ground ball rate. And obviously that's not going to play in a park with wind blowing out and a small park. And also Boston's line opened at 5.8 implied runs. It's up to 6.1. You and I talked about it, I think last night. It was 5.9. And obviously they didn't have a great game against JP Sears. But Medina throws from the right side. And that's obviously the side that Boston just absolutely pummels. So yeah, I have a lot of interest in Rafaela here.
And a point on Medina too, with the extra fly balls, he doesn't have a great ERA, and even with those extra fly balls, he has a 4% homer per fly ball rate, which is really, really low. That means he's getting very lucky with the fact that those fly balls aren't going out of the yards. Even with not good numbers, it looks like there could be negative regression still, and he could be worse. So yeah, I don't trust Medina, and the ball could easily fly out a bunch today.
Yeah, his mid-4 ERA paired with his 5.42 Sierra and 5.47 xFIP. You think that there's regression coming? Because I think he's about to get a taste of some Red Sox medicine this evening that he's not going to like. What do we like in the rest of the position? Probably just Tampa Bay punts and move on.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Obviously, you've got the options. So we've already talked about these guys because a bunch of them have multiple positions. But it's if you didn't play Caballero at second, you can play him here at short. If you didn't play Rosario at third, you can play him here at short. like whichever of those is left of you or whichever one you prefer, because you haven't played any yet, slot them in here as your shortstop if you're going cheap. I think those are obviously the best options here today.
Interesting lineup note, and we already passed catcher, and I know Gabriel Moreno was listed as day-to-day. He is in the lineup hitting second this evening. If you are Gabriel Moreno against lefty truther, that is worth noting, hitting in the lineup hitting second tonight. Let's shift our attention to the final position of the day as we closely get to roster lock, 27 minutes away. Going DraftKings Slate starting at 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure you have your lineup set. I saw some comments earlier. Justin, Salazar, Singleton, Altuve, Bregman. Love that combination if you wanted to go 4 Astros.
Yeah.
I Poe Degen again. Smash the like button, you filthy animals. It's almost like he copy and pasted it from earlier. I'm not going to call him out for that, but if he did, like, salute to you, Poe Degen. We always appreciate you. Top 5 with good numbers and all home runs. I'm assuming we're talking either Rays or Boston. Again, if it's BVP chat, I'm not paying attention to it. I'm acting like it doesn't exist. Let's go to the outfield. There are a million options over 5K. Let's hear a couple of your favorite, because, like, yeah, me and you and our 3,000 analysts can all sit here and say, well, Ohtani, Judge, Soto. Yep, let's wrap it up, move on, and yeah, we're probably going to be right. Who are some of your favorite plays over 5K here, Henry?
Yeah, I really like some of the, in the 5K guys better than those 6K, because obviously, yeah, I'm not going to talk you against Ohtani, Judge, and Soto, but, like, they have to face Aaron Nola and Shane Baz, who are good pitchers. And so I think there's some other guys here who are in stacks that I really like that have good matchups. So, we've talked about those Red Sox. If you want to go for some Jarren Duran and Tyler O'Neill here against Medina, like, to complete some Red Sox stack, like, there's not a bad option there. Obviously, Duran has slowed down a little, but, like, this guy's awesome. He's been great all year. And O'Neill we like better against lefties, but again, it's Luis Medina, so I'm willing to throw him in there. But my favorite, I think, is probably going to be similar to you. It's Kyle Schwarber. Obviously, I kind of wish that they didn't have the opener for this one, because he does have to face the lefty to start off, but like, he can also crush against a lefty too. And then he still gets knack for probably at least 2 at-bats, which that could be 2 homers, because like, it should be a pretty good matchup here for Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, we said it on the pre-show, but I think it's worth repeating. Kyle Schwarber against pitchers that don't strike anyone out and give up a lot of fly balls is a dream scenario for Kyle Schwarber. Anytime he can lift the baseball and anytime he doesn't have to really worry about striking out, I mean, those are what more does he need? So I agree on the Schwarber front. I agree on your Red Sox takes. When we start dipping our toes into the 4K range, what stands out? I know Seiya Suzuki is hitting third tonight. I haven't seen much else in terms of, like, lineup notes from many of these guys. Wiley Abreu is hitting third or hitting seventh. Rosarena hitting second, 4,200. Like, what do you like in this 4K range?
Yeah, obviously, Willy Abreu is a good go-to there still if you want to stack, some of those Red Sox outfielders. He provides some good power. Batting seventh, I like it better when he's like, they slot him in like third.
Hitting third. Yeah, hitting third.
But still like him. And, Randy Rosarena batting second. Obviously, we like some Rays today. So if you're already playing some Rays, like, I know it's been atrocious, but he's been hitting the ball a little better lately. And we know that we could blink and this guy could be a 6K outfielder again, because he's crushing the ball. I'm willing to pay the 4,200 for Randy Rosarena against Cortez.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely like the lineup position for Rosarena tonight as they move him up. And his bat, it gets a little more active.
Yeah. Also,
moving down. Jared Kelenic
struggles against lefties. So again, even if you want to go against him, if you're not, especially Matt Olson, Jared Kelenic, these lefty bats, and he's been hitting the ball well. Obviously, like, the numbers aren't crazy good, but I just think he's been better as he is getting everyday at bats in the leadoff position. And so I think he has some potential here.
What about any, like, interest in some Cubs? I know we talked about Seiya a little bit. Ian Happ is down here. Ian Happ is coming off, like, has had a monster stretch. And there is massive regression for Albert Suarez in the making. Any Cubs love, or you just want to keep moving down the list?
No, I definitely some Cubs love. Yeah, I like Seiya Suzuki. I like Ian Happ even more.
What do we mean the lobby?
What?
I was just trying to listen. I was just trying to. I don't want to leak my my stuff here. Oh man! All right, we got it back. We're good. No!
Oh, come
No!
on.
All right, I'll stop sharing and we'll get this back up in a second. Talk to me about some of your favorite outfielders from the list that you got. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, Ian Happ, I like even more than Seiya Suzuki for 4,100. He's hitting the ball great. Yeah, definitely would take some of those guys against Albert Suarez. And I think as we keep going down, I think we have some other intriguing options. Obviously, we talked about Astros, and there's always those cheap outfielders for the Astros. So, obviously, usually, we don't want to go Jake Myers because he's been terrible and he's not a lefty. But you can throw in Joey Loperfido. Oh no, he's only first now. No, he's only outfield. Joey Loperfido batting sixth. He also gets to move up a little bit, and he's been hitting the ball pretty well recently. He hit a home run yesterday, and so I like that. Especially you're stacking Astros like we talked about, he is a great option.
Yeah, he's been good largely this year when he's gotten the chance to play. 288 average, almost 800 OPS. Obviously, it's been a limited sample, just 80 at bats, but I think Loperfido is a great play coming off a few games that he's had. Again, sorry guys for that little hiccup. They kicked me out. I mean, I was just trying to refresh the page.
Yeah.
Here. I was thinking about Brown for Oakland. He's $2,500. I think we're talking Lawrence Butler. He has been really, really good in this series specifically, but lately, definitely a speed power guy. Any Lawrence Butler love he's obviously taken him a little bit to get going. Tanner Houck not pitching extremely well of late. Like, what is your thoughts on Butler? Any interest here?
Sure. I could see it's unlikely for me probably because I don't see a world where I'm like not putting Tanner Houck in the lineup for the most part. But if you really want to fade Tanner Houck, take a chance on Lawrence Butler, Seth Brown, Brent Rooker. Even you could throw some of those Oakland guys. We talked about weather being good in Fenway, so it's a good hitting environment. They're really cheap, so yeah, if you really want to try to fade Houck, I could see it. I'm probably not doing it, but I don't think you're crazy.
All right. Let's build the lineup. Unless you got anything else to add into the mix here.
I know you mentioned Austin Hayes yesterday. I think he is intriguing also just because he hits lefties well. So I just do think 3,200 he's worth thinking about. But I think that's about it for me on the outfield.
Yeah, and he's been hitting well lately too. Over 1,000 OPS in his last 10. Yeah. So let's get a lineup built. I think we're going Tanner Houck. I think that's been made pretty clear. I feel like we are gonna punt here. But what's your opinion on SP2 overall?
Yeah, I really like just going cheap and taking Kohanowitz just because, those 8K guys we talked about all have question marks. Any one of them could get blown up. So why not take the question mark that only cost me 4K so I can stack my offense?
It's really not a bad play. And you consider the upside that he has against Seattle's offense if they're not hitting home runs. There's obviously
it could be bad.
If there's a potential because Seattle hits a lot of home runs, this is not in Seattle where they hit a lot of their home runs outside of Seattle. So there's always that factor. But our two favorite sacks were, as we went through the show, Philadelphia and Boston, and probably Houston. Houston represents some value. Philadelphia and Boston represent no value. I mean, Boston's 9 hitters, $4,200. So, what do we want to do? Who were specific plugs that we definitely wanted? I would say Trey Turner probably was one that we liked at shortstop.
Yeah, I think, regardless of if we're doing other Phillies, I feel like the 1-2 of Schwarber, Trey Turner, I think we both loved both of them. They're probably going in there.
Agreed. I think in this lineup we could probably get to Devers pretty comfortably because
Yeah,
I mean
got the money.
Singleton at first at 3,200 hitting fourth
Totally.
feels really good with the lefties there. What do we want to do at second? There's Altuve if we wanted to spend up. There's Caballero if we want to spend down. There's all these options in the middle. Like anything. Who was our favorite second base play, you think?
Yeah, considering we're spending up for Turner Devers, I think maybe second we go cheap here and go with the Caballero play. I do like that.
Okay. Catcher. Do we want to punt with Salazar hitting ninth? Do we want to play Diaz and stack 3-4 with Houston? Like, what do you want to do at catcher?
Yeah, Diaz is intriguing since we have Singleton, but I kind of almost would just save the money and take the other Houston bat so we can spend it, in the outfield.
Okay. I like it. And it's, he's $2,700 and that play leads us to nearly $4,500 for our two remaining outfield spots. Anyone specific you're like, we have to get to blank? We only have one Red Sox. I don't know if that bothers you or not. Obviously, Yoshida hitting sixth could get us then O'Neill, and that could get you a 3-4-6 Boston stack. If we didn't play Yoshida, we went to Loperfido.
Duran, yeah. Who can you pair with Duran?
Loperfido.
Yeah, that way you add another Red Sox bat, you add another Astros bat. I don't hate that.
Angels pitcher is a heavy ground ball pitcher. He is, but he's also hasn't pitched an inning over double-A. So
yeah,
that could be the case, and I'm expecting it to be. But also, the Mariners just do two things: they strike out a lot and hit a lot of home runs especially when they're on the road. So, I think that'll do it. I like the lineup. Roster lock in about 15 minutes or so.
Yep.
Houck or Nola on FanDuel. Tanner Houck for sure.
Yeah. I like Nola, but he's facing the Dodgers. Tanner Houck's facing Oakland.
Yeah. We like Ceddanne Rafaela for sure. IC3 for sure. You can play him at short. You can play him in the outfield. Obviously, easier to play him in the outfield, I think, on DraftKings, where we're playing Trey Turner tonight. So, Henry, any final thoughts before we depart here?
No, I don't think so. Make sure you get those lineups set. Excited for today. Hopefully, all of what we've said comes right. Hopefully, Phillies, Red Sox, Astros all crush, and hopefully Kohanowitz can keep it together and not get destroyed by the Mariners.
That would be very helpful. Everyone, again, NFL Draft Guide is out right now on fantasyalarm.com. You can head over to fantasyalarm.com/guide and get your copy today, or scan the QR code that you see on the screen right now. Take your league by storm, right? With the rankings, sleepers, bust, everything in between. And that'll do it for Henry and I. Big shout out to you, Henry, for everything you have done today. Pre-show, live stream. Salute to you, good sir. We'll be back with the pre-show tomorrow. We'll be back with the final live stream of the week at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.